on, and we're going to talk more about the series that I had been started about Alvin Stark in Indiana. I did find out, wish I had known this before I started the video, sir, storm, I was going to do this earlier while the storm was going, but, I thought it would make a good, sort of a good background, but new place and all that. But anyway, one thing that I did find out later that I wish I had knew is that concerning the Tully sisters, as I had mentioned in my previous video, there was a treaty, a treaty with Governor Harrison, called the Treaty of Paris, and that is why the three Tully sisters, felt that they were obligated to stay at the witches, what's known as the Witches' Castle in Utica. There was a very bad history with Shawnee, and that's well. But there was another story that I had found out concerning that area. Apparently, 3 women had shown up one day and made their home in a stone structure not far from the castle. And they were extremely antisocial, shoot everybody away. And then at some point, apparently, children went missing. There were, of course, suspicion, and the home was raided by the townspeople. And apparently, according to the story, there was dried skin hanging on clotheslines, discarded bones in corners, and a human heart cooking on the fireplace, among other things. And although I can't really, I'm not exactly having good luck with finding anything much about that, other than that small account. And apparently the townspeople took it upon themselves to hang these 3 women, and of course they also had put a curse upon the town. There's some really interesting stuff that I'm kind of looking into concerning more incidents on the property and more history of the property, so hopefully I'll have that at a later date. There was an incident, and there was a story that I had heard as a kid, when I lived in Hamilton County, not far from Carmel. The story of a place called the Witch's Bridge, and apparently it's also known as the Screaming Bridge. The bridges of Madison County, Indiana is known for its bridges. Apparently it's known for its screaming bridges. We apparently have several haunted bridges and tragedies concerning all of that in the state. But this particular bridge was not far from where I lived, although it's no longer inaccessible. It was built in the 1800s, and the story that I was told as a kid was that 3 alleged witches had been taken and hung off of the bridge by the local townspeople. Now, I couldn't find much on this, but I did find there was also a incident where a disabled boy had been allegedly murdered on the bridge, and an incident where a baby had been born out of wedlock and was thrown over the bridge, and an incident with the mother. Now, the only thing that I could find out was that there was an alleged lynching on the bridge, so maybe that might have something to do with it. Maybe the people that were lynched were alleged practitioners. I am not all too sure about that, but I don't really have a means of going to Carmel and going to their historical society and looking that up. The other thing that I had looked into was an incident concerning a woman in Batesville, Indiana, buried in St. Louis Cemetery there. There was reference to the color of her skin, but I don't know if the young girl was indigenous, if she was African American. But they believed that she was a practitioner, and a mob of townspeople chased her to the graveyard. She was assaulted sexually, and basically beaten to death. And the townspeople in their guilt, and this was a young girl, barely a woman, is how she was described. They did take it upon themselves, though, to bury her in the local cemetery, and they put a stone door upon her grave, and apparently now the stone door has disappeared. There's also, and I'm going to go more into other places concerning sites where alleged witchcraft took place. And there was another story about a small religious sect that was started by William Crabb, and they were known as the Crabbites. They had been moved throughout the state and eventually settled in Brown County. They were known as a strange Christian sect. They believed that something to do with the earth being flat and going to the fourth corners, and they felt that it was necessary to conduct their rituals at cemeteries. And apparently there was issues with doing rituals, sexual rituals, and some rituals with snakes. Apparently throughout a few cemeteries throughout Indiana, which will bring us, and we'll go more into the Step Cemetery later on at some point. I could find at least 2 houses, one in Hobart and one in Fort Wayne, where they allegedly also had some town witches. And of course, lastly, we have what's known as Tecumseh's Curse. Tecumseh's Curse, apparently Tecumseh's brother, it's also known as the Curse of Tippecanoe, which was started by Tecumseh's brother Tezcatlipoca, which I'm going to do a later video on this gentleman, after the death of his brother at the Battle of the Thames, as well as some other family tragedies and tragedies concerning Native American people. Tezcatlipoca, upon his death, decided to curse President William Henry Harrison. Not only curse William Henry Harrison, but curse presidents after that. It's also called the Curse of Tippecanoe and the 20-year curse, because apparently this curse will recycle itself every 20 years. President William Henry Harrison was apparently the first to be the recipient of this, even though this man was known to not wear coats or hats, not change his clothes when he was drenched, due to rain and the elements. He apparently became ill and died of pneumonia, and is one of the presidents that had the shortest term in office. Mr. Harrison's term of office was only 31 days. And of course, a series of assassinations and deaths and personal tragedies within presidential families. I will put a link up more on this Tecumseh's Curse. So that's it for this video, guys. Peace, love, and light. Please comment, like, and subscribe.